Snowdonia cradles a wealth of minerals. The Romans mined gold here and fished for pearls in the River Conwy. Gold was re-found in Snowdonia's hills during the 19th century. At Clarke above the Mawddach estuary, the discovery of a rich gold vein started a Welsh gold rush in buying shares in the mines. Near Bala, beneath the ruined castle of Castell Carndochan, a young boy saw gold glinting in a stone wall by the roadside. Whilst between the rivers Mawddach and Gain, the Gold King, Pritchard Morgan, mined his own weight plus 2 stone in gold during one fortnight. Today, his old mine at Gwynfynydd makes wedding rings for Henry Tudor's descendants, the British royal family. Gold isn't the only metal lining these mountains, and copper occurs in the quartz rocks above Llyn on Mount Snowdon itself. The first miners here 4,000 years ago smelted copper with tin to make bronze tools. Later on, shepherds carried the copper ore down Snowdon on their backs. By the 19th century, horses and carts laden with ore were led over a causeway built across Llyn and down the miners' track to Penna Pass. Most of the miners of this time lived in Llanberis. Early on Monday mornings, they climbed more than 3,000 feet over the top of Snowdon, returning home on Saturday evenings. Throughout the working week, in the one-room cottages near Llyn, the Welsh and Irish families scrapped like tigers. Whilst beside the Glaslyn, the miners lived in barracks, 2 to each bed, beneath a roof anchored on by cables against the strong winds. Nearby, the blacksmith ran a sideline in selling tea to walkers. But it's at the Segin copper mine where the most exotic income was made. The hills above Beddgelert provided the location for Ingrid Bergman's 1950s film, The Inn of the Sixth Happiness, set, where else, in China. On the Great Orme near Llandudno, the Bronze Age people also found copper, which they extracted by lighting fires against the limestone and then hitting the weakened rock with stone hammers. The Romans continued mining copper here, as well as lead in the hills above Trefrw, which they shipped in galleys to their harbour at Caerhun and on to Rome. They soon learned from the local people that the iron-rich waters had a beneficial effect on lead poisoning caused by inhaling the dust. The Victorians knew Trefrw's secret too. Travelling up the Conwy by paddle steamer, the wealthy came both to drink and bathe in the spa waters. The miners of this age lived in Pentredi, the Black Village, near Bettws-y-Coed. To reach the lead workings in the hills opposite, the men crossed over the River Llygwy via the Miners' Bridge, only yards upstream from the Roman ford used centuries before. The lead mines near Llyn Sarnau and Llyn Parc were many but small, and often worked by only one man. In contrast, the slate mines and quarries of the 19th century employed thousands of men and made huge profits for their owners. With the income from their slate quarry at Bethesda, the Penrhyn family home was completely rebuilt and refurnished. But this wasn't just another Victorian mansion. It became a neo-Norman castle with square keep, round towers and battlements. Unlike most castles, it wasn't cold and damp inside. There were log fires and underfloor heating, stained glass windows and silk wallpapers. For the quarrymen who lived in the barracks, bare stone walls and roofs kept off the wind and rain. And if it was dry, there was a mountain stream in which to wash. In the quarries from Penrhyn to Llechwedd, the rockmen swung and clambered across the open rock face, forcing out massive blocks of slate with pointed rods and gunpowder. For safety's sake, a chain hitched round one thigh left both hands free to work or to cling on in the midst of falling rocks. From the mines at Blaenau-Festiniog, the slates were transported by tramway to the harbour at Porthmadog and sailed onto the roofs of millions of homes throughout the world. Initially, the slate wagons were hauled by horses until, in the 1860s, the first steam locomotives took on the role. Within a few years, the steam trains which travelled between the slate quarries and their ports also carried passengers. And Victorians who once climbed Mount Snowdon on ponies to watch the sunrise could sit more comfortably on the Snowdon Mountain Railway, which followed the original pony track from Llanberis. A new holiday resort developed on the north coast for these tourists. Among them, Lewis Carroll and the family of Alice, who stayed at Llandudno near the Llan of St Tidno on the Great Orme. During the late 19th century, the National Eisteddfod of Wales was established. As now, these annual competitions in music and poetry were announced 1 year and 1 day in advance from within specially erected circles of stones. On the banks of Llyn Geirionydd, rival Eisteddfods were held for many years around the monument to Taliesin, a bard at the court of the King of Powys in the 6th century. Much later, an international music Eisteddfod was set up in Llangollen, and choirs and soloists, folk singers and folk dancers from all over the world still compete in it.